Hi, welcome. If you are doing this as a refresher class, you know me. Welcome back, and I cannot wait to see you in person. If you're a newcomer, welcome. I'm Lori. You're going to love everybody. We have such a great sense of community. So, my goal today is to keep you from having to sit in a room, taking your time to listen to me talk about your practice. This way, you can watch it when it's convenient for you. You can watch it as many times as you would like. You can pause when you need to. So, what I would encourage you to do is if you don't have a pen and a pencil, pause for a moment and go get that now. I think it will be helpful to take notes. So, I am going to have my little cheat sheets here because normally I just go with the flow of teaching. But I really have some concepts and some steps and things that I want you to know, and I want to make sure that I don't forget to share them with you. So I have thought through all of this, and I'm going to cheat a little bit as I look at my notes. So, whether this is your first class or your 400th class, I think this video will help you. I'm actually going to send it to all of my students just in case they want to review. Because what this is going to do, it's going to talk about yoga, it's going to talk about the type of yoga that I teach, give you some real guidance about body alignment and the different poses and how you need to take care of yourself on the mat. So I'm excited to share those things with you. Um, I look back at some things as I was preparing this because I could not remember how long yoga had been around. And it has been around for 5,000 years. So some of us think of it as a new thing because most of us have come to our mat or heard about yoga more recently. But it was begun in North India 5,000 years ago. And I know some people think that it's a religion or related to religion, and it's truly not. I've had women who, older than I am, fully grown, who said, "My mother's really upset I'm taking yoga because she thinks I'm like breaking our religion." You're not. It is a practice of mind, body, and spirit. Um, Sanskrit is the language that's spoken, and it's an ancient Indian language. I don't use many words. You'll find me using a few here and there, but not very many. I find it difficult to follow or understand. And most of us know yoga as warrior and down dog and up dog and triangle. And when you start throwing the Sanskrit words in there, I think it makes it much more difficult, especially when you're throwing both words out there. In addition to that, I really didn't want to learn an ancient Indian language at my age. So you'll hear me use it every now and again. But if it sounds kind of strange to you, that's why. It's a very ancient religion that it's only used by 1% of the population now. Was a little fact that I ran across. So, about me, some of you know my story. I know some of you watching this have known me for many, many years. But I have a master's degree in social work and have worked in the healthcare industry for about 25 years of that. And a few years ago, I decided to step away from that and do what I really wanted to do. So in 2017, I got my certification in Kripalu Yoga. Not important that you remember that name, but it's Kripalu Yoga is my certification. I chose that because it looks at the full body and it looks at mind, body, and spirit. It takes care of your body while you're on the mat. It looks at alignment and make sure that you're looking at the full body and practicing safely. It's not your daughter's yoga, probably the power yoga, the hot yoga that you hear about. I practiced that one time with my daughter, and I said, I will never walk into another hot yoga class in my life. It is I am not built for hot yoga. So I like this. You'll learn a lot more. So if you haven't practiced with me before, I think by the time we get to the end of this, you'll know whether or not my practice and the Kripalu practice is what you are meant to do. Okay, so you hear different types of names of yoga. Again, don't worry about it. Um, Hatha yoga, if you've heard of that, or vinyasa flow yoga. And I'm kind of in between that. It's more of an eclectic style. I've also taken lots of Pilates classes. And so if you've taken Pilates classes, some of the things that we do in here will feel similar to you. It's more gentle. Again, it's not the hot yoga. We don't move through things so quickly that you don't have time to know what you're even doing. We, hold a pose, we notice the pose, we get balanced in the pose, and don't just with our yoga. I don't know what that would be called. It's restorative, it's relaxing, and I already said it's not hot or power yoga. So my daughter and I laugh, which I actually started practicing yoga when shortly after she was born, and she just turned 23 a couple of weeks ago. She also practices, but we laugh because it's like, oh, Mom, that's your kind of yoga. And I'm like, oh, that's your kind of yoga. So I hope that you're wanting to do my kind of yoga. I mentioned it shouldn't be confused with religion. It is about mind, body, and spirit, but spirit for how you define it. There was something in here that talked about you can believe in a God or gods or nothing at all. Yoga is a mental practice, a physical practice. So don't feel like when I talk about spirit that I'm trying to guide you to a certain religion or to a certain belief. What you believe and what you choose to believe is between you and your mat and you and your God, if you have one. We are practicing in a church. I would call it spiritual, but spiritual with the inner heart and the inner soul and what we want from our lives, both on the mat and off the mat. And that aspect of this practice is very important to me, and what really draws me to teach you and lead you and do exactly what I'm wanting to do with my life, which rolls us right into themes. And I had never been in classes before I took my certification that had themes, or they might do a little reading at the beginning or do a quote, but it was never tied into the practice. You might hear it at the beginning, you might hear it at the end. But when I went through my training, that was something that my instructor did, and I really like it. And I think I've even taken it a step further. One thing that I didn't mention is that I did tell you I got certified in 2017, but I actually taught many years before that when my girls were little. So I had several years of practice back then, but I was not certified. So anyway, she talked about the things. So I'm going to give you an example. I send a quote out every week, and usually it has something to do with inner peace or reaching out to others, our heart and soul, joy, patience, growing, being grounded. Those are just some of the things. So I pulled out a quote that I liked from one of my favorite authors. If you know Brene Brown, I have a group and we tease and we say she's our friend because we've read so much of her stuff. But I have a lot of respect for her, fellow social worker, fellow Southerner. And she says, let go of who you are. No, I said that wrong. Let go of who you think you are supposed to be. Let go of who you think you are supposed to be and be who you are. After I've taught the class 5 or 10 times, by the end of the week, I sort of know the quote a little bit better. So there's a couple of things that we do with the quotes or the themes, and you can choose what we call in yoga an intention. And it's a way of saying, don't think about the quote, but consider an intention around the quote. And you are free at any time to choose an intention in your practice, day to day, and or not. And it can be just, you know what, my knee's hurting today, and that's going to be my intention, is to really pay attention to my knee. Or maybe you choose to acknowledge anxiety and really pay attention to your breath during that practice. Or you can choose something around the quote. So, if you're thinking about who am I supposed to be and who do I want to be, that can be a consideration or an intention. And many times we also add breath to that. So, in this particular case, an example could be breathe into be who and breathe out to you are. Be who you are. So I try each time to give you some words to breathe in and out to. I think that it helps many people because it helps clear the mind. They call it the monkey mind. Let the mind go, let it clear. And sometimes when you're not only breathing, but you're breathing into a word or a concept or an idea or your intention, it helps to clear the mind. So just remember, you have choices about setting intentions. You have choices not about breathing. That is the only thing you do not have a choice about. In my classes, you have to breathe. Breath is life. But, if you want to breathe into those words, great. If you don't, it's okay. It's just a suggestion. So, as I said before, the only thing in my classes that are not optional is breathing. I have told people, if you're injured or you're tired or you don't want to practice, if you just come in, you sit in class, even in the back of the room or the front of the room, then if you're breathing, you're practicing your yoga. So that is the most important part of your practice. And we talk about how to get the breath beyond the chest and into the belly. So the goal is to move the breath down. We have a diaphragm right here, and it takes the breath and it pushes it down, kind of like a machine. And we want to be able to feel the breath as it fills the belly, and then the breath goes back out. And in yoga, we breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Except we live in Charlotte, we know what allergies are, so sometimes we just breathe the best that we can. But basically, that's the goal, and to bring your breath with you throughout your entire practice, from the very minute our butts hit the mat until we are closing off, and then hopefully bringing your breath with you. But breath and movement work together. So I'll be talking about that and we'll explore it, and you'll get a better idea of what that means. So I talked about, my heading was practice intelligently and safely. So I mentioned that in Kripalu yoga and in my yoga classes, we focus on safety, we focus on comfort. So, the thing of no pain, no gain, if you have pain, that is your body's way of telling you that something is wrong. And what we learn in yoga is body awareness. We talk about it all the time. Be aware of how your body's feeling. Be aware of your breath. So, what we do is when we come to our mats, we listen to our bodies. We modify poses when and how we need to, and we do what we can. We don't do what we can't. We come in and out of poses as we need to. So, what you do on your mat is completely your choice. I'm a guide. I make suggestions. I model things. But beyond that, the choices are really yours. So, you don't want to power through pain. If you do not know how to modify a pose, a position, a stretch, then you ask me. My students are very open. We experience this together, and everybody asks questions when they have them. Feel free to talk to me before class, after class, email me, text me, call me if you have questions that we need to talk about in more detail, because my goal is to help you safely practice and to get as much out of it as you can without harm or injury. So, some of the tools that we have, and if you haven't gotten an email from me already with details about how you can order these things, you will. So we of course have our yoga mat. I like Gia mats. I like this particular width. I buy mine from Amazon, but you have lots of choices. As people always say, they're at TJ Maxx and Marshalls and Home Goods and CVS and Target, and so there's different places where you can find your mats. Another thing that we use is blocks. And it's very important that you get the right size box. And when I send you the information, then you'll have the right size, because some blocks are skinnier and they don't provide the stability or the strengthening or the lengthening that we want. The other thing that you're going to need to have is a strap, and they're fairly inexpensive. I think the link I'm sending y'all, they're like $6. They have different colors, they have different lengths. I am about 5'4", and a 6-foot strap is working very well for me. If you are taller than that or have really long legs, which I do not, you might want to get a strap that's a little bit longer, but the 6-foot strap has been my friend. And my very best yoga tool or friend is my knee pad. So if you've taken from me before, you know I love these. When you're in a table pose or in kneeling, plank with your knees down, this really helps support and save the knees. So I don't have knee issues, but when my knees go to a hard floor, even with my yoga mat, it hurts. You can also use it to soften or strengthen arms, to give wrist support. If you've got your foot out and your heel's on the floor, it can support your heel. So I will have to add this to the email and the information that I sent, because I did not think to include it, but I have that information. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is I do something a little unique with our mats. So we have practiced with 2 mats, and we crisscross them, just like if you think about the Red Cross. One goes this way and one goes this way. And it is an absolutely ideal way for you to be able to keep your eyes on the front of the room, which is me guiding you through the poses, without having to turn this way and go crazy trying to be able to see me over your shoulder. So in the past, I have supplied blocks and I have supplied the extra mats. But with new things that we've learned about hygiene and sanitation, I think it's better that we all just own our own tools. So I was asking my class this morning, because we've been doing this by Zoom call for 15 months now. And so I wasn't sure what they were doing with their mats. And sure enough, they were either crisscrossing their mats or they were literally picking me up and taking me with them. So they re-emphasized how important they think that is. They also came up with another good idea. If you're not ready to invest in a second mat, or maybe you're not ready to invest in a first mat, I have some that I can loan you. You'll just be responsible for cleaning them, and then before you use them, and cleaning them and getting back to me after you've decided what you want to do. But that would keep you from shelling out a whole lot of money right up front, just in case you're not sure. I also have blocks that you could borrow, and straps. You can use a big long belt. I have cut up old tights or pantyhose, which, we're not doing pantyhose anymore. So what else are you going to do with them? And you can use that for a while until you're ready to buy a strap if you just want to try it out. So that's all I have to say about our tools, I think. So, what I thought I would do is take you guys kind of through the process that we go through in a class. And we start in a seated place. So, one thing I tell people to bring, and some people end up using them and some people do not. They usually use them for something. I finally invested after, what did I say, 23 years in my own yoga blanket, but you do not have to have one, but they too are on Amazon or other places. You can also bring a beach towel. You don't want a little wimpy towel. You need a beach towel in order to do this. And what you could do is you can fold that blanket or that towel, and there are some tiny bones at the very bottom of your pelvis. If it were a little easier, I'd show, put up some shots. But if you go to your bottom, very, very bottom, and you feel, you will find a bone down there. So if you think about your pelvis and your hips, if you were to look at a skeleton, it's those little bones that stick out at the bottom. Those are your sits bones. So what you can do to get a little more support and to sit a little higher is to fold your blanket or your towel, put your sits bones. Okay, so if I go right here, it's just like sitting on the floor. This isn't doing anything any different. And notice if I'm sitting on the floor and I just relax, this is where I go. If I prop my sits bones up on my towel or my blanket and I relax, this is where I go. So it's a really big difference. So what you need to know is it's just the sits bones right on the edge. I can help you with this when we get in person. And you can kind of take the cushy part and move it out to the side and get yourself planted on your blanket or your mat. And again, a lot of people don't do this. I do it religiously. It helps with my lower back. It helps with my core. It helps me hold my shoulders back. So the first thing that we do when we begin class, after we're done chatting and catching up, is to plant our sits bones on our blanket or on your mat to sit comfortably. So do this with me. You are not going to be doing a whole lot of moving today. When we come together for however many refresher introductory classes you decide to do, you'll be moving and we'll be talking through the poses. Today, it's more about you keeping your eyes on me so that you can see what I'm talking about, so that when we do hit the mat, it's like, oh, this is what she was talking about. And it is not important for you to try to memorize everything that I am telling you. That's why you have me with you during a yoga class. I will be telling you all of these things. I'm not going to say, okay, hit your down dog. I'm going to walk you into your down dog. I'm going to walk you into your plank or into your warrior, into your breath, whatever it is that we're doing. But everything that you're hearing today is going to help you when we see each other soon, very soon. So what you want to do is sit comfortably on your mat. And some people think, oh my goodness, I need to get in I don't even know if I can sit in a full lotus. Oh, I can, but I am not comfortable. All right. So a person who's been doing yoga for a long time, I don't sit that way. You can sit with your legs straddled. You can sit like this. If you need something to lean back against, you can do that. Whatever it is that you need in order to be comfortable. Because in the very beginning is when we're getting ready for class. It's when we're preparing. And we sit there for a while. So, I've been sitting here talking to you guys for a little while now, and I'm already kind of starting to feel a little bit tight in the hips and the lower back. So I'm going to wiggle around for a minute. So what we do is we take our tailbone deep to the ground, take our crown of the head to the sky. The crown of the head, remember Jack and Jill, is the very top middle of your head. So when you hear me refer to that, that's what I'm talking about. And we lengthen our spine. Our spine is at the center of our practice. I like to say that the heart is also at the center of our practice, but everything yoga starts from the spine. So we get nice and tall. And then we take our shoulders forward, up, back, and down. So again, feel free to do this with me if you'd like. Even if you're sitting in a chair watching this video, sit tall, get your shoulders back. The other thing that's important is engaging the chin, which if you've never been asked to do that, you're going, huh? So it's like imagining that your chin could touch the back of your throat or the back of your neck. So I talked about our kids doing yoga and throwing that head back, and it's not a place where we want to take our cervical spines and our necks. So I will remind you to engage your chin. So if you were to look at me sideways, my chin would be level. And in almost everything that we do, the chin is engaged, the chin is level. Even as we go side to side, it stays as if it were on a countertop or a platter, not, going all crazy. So we've gotten our posture in place, and then I'm going to ask you to breathe. I'm going to encourage you to breathe as deeply as you can, to take in a breath that goes beyond the chest into the belly, feeling the belly rise. Occasionally, I will do some classes where we talk a lot about breath, but I find that it helps a little bit, but that just reminding people to continue to breathe is really what's most important. You might hear people talk about the ujjayi breath or the ocean sounding breath. And that's where you breathe in through the nose, you breathe out through the nose, but you can feel it and hear it in your throat. I actually call it sometimes, it sounds like Darth Vader. Let me see if I can do it. So you breathe in. So it's a very relaxing and warming breath, but your regular breath, breathing in and out deeply, is also warming and relaxing. I sometimes come to my mat in the morning or even in the evening and I'm chilly. And by the time I'm through just with the breathing exercises and the moving with the head and the neck, I'm usually ready to shed my sweater. It can warm you that quickly. If you have questions about breath and the yoga breaths, ask me. I can send you more information about it, but I probably won't spend a whole lot of time talking about the specific types of breaths. My goal is just to keep you breathing while you are on your mat. So it's important for you to understand not a lot of anatomy, but a little bit. I talked about how the spine is so important to our practice. So there's 3 parts of the spine, and you'll hear me refer to all 3. So the neck is the cervical spine. The middle spine is the thoracic spine, and this will probably sound familiar to you. Your lower back is your lumbar spine. And that spinal alignment is important. And I'll demonstrate some of that a little bit later. But when we begin our practice, we need to warm. Just like I was talking about, just sitting here for a few minutes will help you get warm and get ready. And we start with that by warming all 3 parts of the spine. So we start with the cervical spine and we move it. There's 6 directions that it can go. It can, if your chin is on the chest, it can go like this. I call it creating a smile on your chest. The cervical spine can go this way. and it can go this way. So I have found my 3 favorite exercises that help us to get the cervical spine moving. Then we move to the thoracic and the lumbar spine. So let's actually see, if you do this with me, you cannot see. So I'm going to go through that and show you one more time so that you don't ever have to worry about having your eyes open during this time unless you just can't remember. And I will talk, I'm not going to do probably as many repetitions as we do, but I'll give some of the wording that I say so that you realize that you really don't have to have your eyes open in order to know what to do. So just watch me for a second. And I would say to you, take your chin to your chest, and leaving your chin on the chest, just roll to the right shoulder and then roll to the left shoulder. And take it back and forth, breathing in and breathing out as you move. And trying to take each movement, each stretch a little deeper. So in this case, it would be taking that chin just a little higher. And then we're going to come back to center. Lift the chin, lengthen the spine, engage the chin. Because even in that short period of time, the spine starts to fall. So we get tall once more. And then it's that side to side movement. So you're going to look over the right shoulder and over the left shoulder. And again, if you can take that stretch a little deeper, that's great. So the thing is, you want to keep your chin level, like it's on that countertop. And there's a couple of ways that you can hold this pose. So I'm going to go ahead and show those to you so you can learn that now. You can hold on the right side. So I'll ask you to hold the last one. And you can take the opposite hand and kind of take your neck back a little more. Or you can just bring your hand up. I can't do this and talk at the same time, but what I'm doing is I'm just taking my chin back a little bit more, not aggressively, because this is my neck. And then if you would like to take that a little deeper, you can take your arm behind your back, which will help maintain this staying open. Turn your head and you can take this hand and take your head back a little more. So I'll talk about those options for a while as we're teaching, and then eventually you'll learn them and you'll know whether you want to go here, whether you want to go here, or whether you're just fine being right here just like this. So choices, those are our choices. So the last movement, we're going to do the shoulders forward, up, back, and down once more, and you would let your hands fall by your side. And you can see me for this one if you'd like to do this first part with me. You take your right ear to your right shoulder, and then you go to the other side. So each time you may find that the ear will get just a little bit closer. Now what you don't do is take the shoulder up to meet the ear. Shoulders down. You'll hear me say over and over again, breathe, shoulders down, straight back. So then what we do, and this you need to watch because once you go into this place, you can't see me. So the right ear goes down, the chin drops, the right hand comes up. You place it very gently on the top of your head and encourage, not force, but encourage a deeper stretch. And you can hold here, or you might find that just a little bit of movement works for you. And then this is my favorite part. You take the hand, you bring it under the head, and instead of the head coming up by itself, you have a helper to bring it back to center. So I will talk you through that. Why don't we even try it together on the other side? So take your left ear to your left shoulder. Drop your chin down. Notice you're at an angle here. Take the left hand up on top of your head and gently encourage a deeper stretch. Bring your hand under your head and bring it back to center. I need to secure my hair here. That happens during yoga. All right, so that takes care of our cervical spine, all 6 movements. So we'll move to the thoracic and the lumbar spine, middle and lower spine. And there's 6, I always said, why is it not 3? Because it's left and right, and they count that as 2. So there's six movements of the cervical spine. One is sideways. Feel free to join me for this one, where you just take it over to one side and take it over to the other side. So keep doing that, and here's one of our options, is to take a strap pretty wide, and you can do this with the strap if you'd like. So at the beginning of class, we sometimes do this with other poses. At the beginning, you might not want to deal with the strap. So then what we would do is take it over to the right side and hold, dropping the left knee down. So if you just kind of in your mind push that knee, not with your hand, but with your mind, down a little lower, you'll feel the whole side body open. So what we're doing is stretching this side and engaging this side. And we're taking that spine. You can imagine a skeleton leaning over, that spine's going this way and it's going this way. So now what we'll do is move into cow and cat. So you just place your hands gently on your knees and you come forward with your chest. And then I have to move my blanket out from under my sit bones. And then you go into cat, chin to chest. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see that a little better. So you can see the chest is open. Notice my chin is engaged. I'm not throwing it back. My shoulders are open and down. And so my spine is moving in this direction. And then you grab hold below the knees at your shin and you pull back, shoulders down. I see people, even teachers, doing this. You want your shoulders down. Your navel goes to your spine, chin to chest, and there's your cat. So you inhale to your cow and exhale to your cat. So we've got that spine moving in the, what would it be, the 3rd and 4th positions. So we want to add the 5th and 6th positions, and that's the spine moving this, well, it twists. So it's kind of like this. This is where you have an option to use your strap or not. I love my strap here, I have decided. So you go a little greater than shoulder distance apart, and you just turn to one side. Notice I'm staying level, and then turn to the other side. So what I like about this is when you turn, and this is when you're doing it, you're not going to be able to see me. Your back hand pulls the front hand around, and you can go into a deeper spinal twist. And again, that's something we hold, go a little deeper if you can, and then a little deeper if you can. Now, what you need to understand about these warming poses when we're working the spine is that these aren't our deepest stretches. These are our warming stretches. So you want to pay attention. You want to be gentle with your body and give it a chance to warm up, because that's what this is all about. All right, we're moving along here. Something that confuses people is, and it's more, I think, in the standing poses, but I'm going to say this because I say it a lot, and then, somebody a year later, they've been practicing, they say, am I supposed to look up or down? You can look in any direction you'd like. So if we're, say, in a warrior pose, or a triangle pose, or a peaceful warrior. Now I'm doing a seated peaceful warrior. There really isn't such a thing, but we could make it one. But you can look up, you can look forward, or you can look down. Looking forward is the easiest. If you've got a lot of pressure or tension in your neck or shoulders or any kind of issues there that bother you, that's the easiest thing to do. Looking up is what you'll see me do most of the time. And then some people might just prefer to look down. So just know comfort, choice. You want to be able to be comfortable in the places that you go. Oh, body alignment. So this is a good time, I think, for me to come to standing, because after a while we get tired of sitting on the floor. Even I get tired of sitting on the floor. In my training, oh my gosh, we would have these 3-day weekends, and we would do like maybe 12 hours, and we were sitting on the floor the whole time, and it was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. So I don't wish that on anybody. But I'm going to come to standing. I will adjust my camera, but guess what? Once we're in person, I can quit adjusting my camera, and we will just be together. And I guess I need to bring my notes with me so that I can remember what I'm telling you guys. So we talked about alignment of the body. So I have always heard tuck your tail in and down, and that kind of helps you to get straighter. Okay, so tuck it in and down. Then I was taking a class recently, actually from somebody I didn't realize, but she was one of the teachers at the studio where I work. She says zip up and zip down. And it works really well because it gets you tall and then it gets you tucked. So I have too much arch in my back, so it's really important for me to stay tucked in. For all of us, if you're standing straight and you're tucked in, you are instantly 1 inch taller and 5 pounds lighter. I swear, stand in front of a mirror and do it. It's pretty incredible. But with body alignment, we're wanting to keep our spine in line much of the time. I'm not quite where I want to be with this, so let me try just a little bit of adjusting. Yeah, that's better. So whether we're seated, which we talked about, whether we are standing, leaning forward, going side to side, on the ground, or in a pose, we pretty much, unless we're doing the cat and cow poses or an arch of some sort, we're wanting the body to stay straight. So frequently when we come to standing and when we move into balance poses, we take a block, optional. If I say block or I say strap, it's optional. If I say do anything, actually, it's optional. But good body alignment is your feet are right under your hips, which are right under your shoulders, more or less. You can take this block, you can push in, and you can feel all these muscles engaging and release. The shoulders are down and back. The chin is engaged. I'm looking forward. So here we are in a nice mountain where everything is in place. We've zipped up, we've zipped down, that tailbone's tucked in, the navel's going in towards the spine. We've got a good, strong core. We're here. So I hadn't planned to talk about this, but I think it's important that I do. So we test our balance when we first start. And we do that by placing the block between the leg or not. I like the block, some people don't. And you can do a series of things here. You can just stand and stare, but you need a focal point. If you ever hear me say balance, you should immediately think focal point. And a focal point is something that you find directly in front of you. If it's off to the side, it's going to throw your balance off. Something that's right in front of you, maybe kind of small. And then you can just go into what they call a drishti gaze, kind of that meditative place. But for balance, you need that focal point. If you're ever a ballerina or a dancer, that's how they do all those turns, is they keep finding that focal point. So having said that, you're here, you're a mountain, you're finding your focal point. Some of the things that you can do here is lift the toes. You can keep the toes down. Maybe try closing your eyes. Maybe going up on the toes. This is more difficult. And come down. For a while there, I was trying to go up on my toes and close my eyes, and I decided that just wasn't a good idea. So the reason I'm going through that with you right now, and feel free to stand or move around, you can kind of do this with me if you want, whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. Maybe you're taking some notes, whatever works for you right now. But I will ask you, not always, but a lot of the time, to give yourself a score or a number between 1 and 10, just to assess how your balance is doing today. And my concern always is that somebody's going to go to judgment on that. And it's not about judgment. It's about checking in. It's about body awareness. It's about knowing, as we move into more of these poses that are going to require balance, why am I having a hard time today? Or, hey, this was really easy today. What did I do right last night? Maybe you got a really good day, really good night's sleep. I notice from being aware is that the more tired I am, the more difficult it is for me to balance. It makes perfect sense. So it's just a consideration. It's an awareness. It's not a judgment. So just be aware of that. So I talked about having a straight spine in all the different places. So sometimes we do a forward fold. So I've got my feet under my hips. I'm turning sideways because I want you to be able to see the 3 parts of my spine. So this is the 3 parts of my spine in alignment. So there's a straight line from the top of my head, the crown of my head, to my tailbone. My knees are slightly bent. You're going to hear me say, keep your legs bent, or your knees. Never, ever, ever in a yoga pose have your knees completely locked. So anyway, this is what a flat spine is going to look like here. My face is looking at the floor. My body is parallel to the floor. This means a flat back. And then folding over would look like this, and we no longer have a flat back. To bring you up, to protect your back, I'm going to tell you to bend your legs and to come up and take those shoulders up, back, and down. Another place where we keep our spine straight is, and I'm going to talk about alignment here, and you don't need to worry about doing this right now. I want you to watch me. So a series that we do, don't worry about trying to learn these poses. I will tell you what they are. So this is Warrior 2. Notice my body is straight. I'm not leaning forward. Most people will lean forward this way. I'm straight, my spine is straight. And then we might go to a straight-legged peaceful warrior that looks like this. So I'm bending this way, but I'm not leaning forward or back. So the example that I heard years ago was, imagine you're pressed between 2 panes of glass, like in a picture frame, and or in the pages of a book, and your body is completely straight going up and down. You can't see my back arm, but it's going up and down. You're straight. So here we're straight. Here, even though we've got that curve, I'm straight between the 2 panes of glass. And then if we go to a triangle, my body is still straight. Everybody's going to do this. They're going to want to try to get to the floor. That is not the goal of the pose. The goal of the pose is to get long and to be open. So I noticed I was leaning forward just a tad. You can't really tell at this angle. So I came out. So if there was a piece of glass in front of me and a piece of glass behind me, I would be squished between the two. And then you can come up. This leg bends, side angle. We're going to go through all of these poses, so don't worry about it. Right now, I'm just talking about alignment. I'm not leaning forward. It's not about how far down and how close to the ground I can get. It's about being open. So what I might say to you is push your left hip forward and open your left shoulder. And the best way to get out of these, this is important. So watch me here, is to bring your hand to your hip, bring your other hand to your thigh, and push up. I learned that one all by myself because I have, just FYI, a lot of issues with my hips and my back, 2 full hip replacements. So don't think you can't do yoga, you can. But there's safe ways to do it, and this is a really great way to come out. Now, a way that's not going to be great to come out is using your knee. If you have good knees, you don't want to mess them up. If you have bad knees, you don't want to make them worse. So almost never, ever are your hands on your knees. They're almost always on your thigh. But then it's real easy to come up and come out. So that was all about alignment and just talking about the spine, not even talking about and getting into those poses. So I didn't think about this happening, but I walked away from the computer long enough. It locked me out. Not nice. On the ground, our spine is straight. So it's a lot easier to get it there. But if you're wondering what your spine should be like, it should be like you're laying on the ground. Leaning against a wall. I've got a big mirror behind me. This is my home yoga studio. Welcome. I'm ready to not have 4 walls right here. But you can do these poses up against the wall, and it'll show you how your body stays straight up. Let me see what we've got next. We talked about that. We got ahead of ourselves. We talked about balance poses and focal points. Okay, here's what I want you to hear and know about balance poses. It's not a competition. Trust me, nobody is looking at you and paying attention because they're all focused on themselves in a good way, not in a bad way. And balance poses are about internal focus, and they're more about the mind than they are about the body, although they are about both. And we can certainly talk about how important balance is, especially as we're aging. But you want to be able to clear your mind. I remember the first time I just completely came out of a pose, and I was a balance pose, and I was working in my mind. I went to my target list and immediately came out of my tree or whatever it was that we were doing. So it's about going to a meditative place. Another thing I want you to know is you need to breathe during your balance poses. Breath will make all the difference in the world. Being tall will make all the difference in the world. Kind of like real life, breathing, being tall. I want you to feel very comfortable with going to a wall or a table or a chair or whatever you have access to at all times whenever you feel like you need it. So having a hand on the wall can make all the difference in the world. Okay, this is tree with a hand on the wall. A finger, if you're doing something more difficult, just a single finger can make all the difference in the world. So don't feel shy about grabbing hold of something. I have been very grateful for these walls, not so much the furniture because I tend to kick it sometimes, but I've got stuff readily available to me. And in class, what I will do is either encourage you to go to the wall or we will all go to the wall, just so it's there when and if we need it. I call certain poses balance poses, like what we were doing that with the tree and different things. But what you need to understand is, these other things that I was doing, because I almost fall down, our warriors and our peaceful warriors and all this, that requires balance as well. We're working balance, strength, endurance, flexibility. There's just so much going on. So, when you're here, you're also getting a focal point and really getting into the pose. If we are in, I'll just use tree because it's a really good example. And, you're here and you're doing great and we're still holding, and you're like, I am going to fall down. What you do is you simply put your foot down and you hold right there. Don't freak out. Just maintain your meditative stance. If you're trying to get up and you come fully out and you're struggling with it, start over. And go into your pose. If you hurt, there are times when my tree looks like this, because something in here is hurting, and even to do this is not comfortable for me. You need to remember to come in and out of any pose, any position, any stretch when you are ready to. If you did not hear me say that already. Yoga is not a competitive sport. As somebody who says it's not synchronized swimming. We don't all have to be perfectly aligned and moving at exactly the same time. We're all there with our mat doing what we need to take care of ourselves. And what you do need to know, other people's eyes aren't on you. If you've ever taken yoga classes, I never pay attention really to what anybody else is doing because I'm really focused on what I'm doing and I'm looking at the instructor. But what I want you to know is that my eyes are on you. Others are not, but my eyes are. And my job is to keep you safe. So if I see you doing something that looks like it's going to hurt you, I'm going to let you know. If I see that you're struggling with something and that you need a modification, I will help you learn another way of doing that. But also, I don't read minds. So if you're in a certain position and your wrists are killing you and you're going, ow, 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 this really hurts, but you're not indicating that physically, I'm not going to know that. I will need for you to tell me so that I can show you a safe way to do that particular pose. Again, you should not feel pain. Something that I do a little bit, I don't do it constantly, is to offer assists. And I always let you know if I'm doing that, and what you need to know is your choice of whether or not you want what they call an assist. I'll give you an example. So if we're all in Warrior 2 and I'm coming around for an assist and I see somebody that, they're kind of off, the assist would be for me to come and just straighten that person out, straighten the arms out, bring them tall into the proper alignment, because you can't see it. But I will say, is it okay? And you say yes or no. You will not hurt my feelings unless you're not honest. Just tell me. Some people don't like to be touched. Some people are not in the mood to be touched. And once I get to know you really well, I know what you're comfortable with and what you're not. But it's very important that you know that you have choices about that as well. Let's see. Oh, inversions. All right. An inversion in yoga is any time that your head goes down when you're standing, or if you're on your back and your feet go up. And I'll show you some examples of those in a minute. And, you see inversions a lot in yoga. Down dog is an example of an inversion. You don't know what down dog is. I know most people do. It's this. And we need to talk about down dog a little bit. But I looked it up, and it was so much more than I even had previously thought. It says it's believed to release tension, increase circulation, increase energy level, strengthen muscles. There you go. There's enough reasons. It's also thought to promote emotional growth, calm the mind and spirit, guide energy towards the heart, and help us become more connected with the earth. That's enough. There's more. They say it increases the blood flow to the brain, giving it more oxygen and nutrients and making the brain function faster and better. I'll need that. Which improves concentration, memory, observation, and boosts clear thinking. Standing inverted actually makes the brain work better. Can y'all see why I'm having to read this now? It's so much, there's so many benefits. I couldn't memorize them all. I did know that it helps with the circulatory system, the central nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the cardiac system, and there's other systems that I couldn't remember. But if you're wondering why you're turning your head upside down or your feet up in the air, that's why. I'm going to have to send this to my current students because I won't even be able to remember it for them. Let me see. Oh, guys, we're getting close. And I forgot to look at the clocks. I really don't know how long we've been doing this, but you can pause. Again, you can pause and come back whenever you need to. This doesn't have to be an hour-long yoga class. All right, so I wanted to talk about core strength. And before I stand up again, I'm going to read this part. It says it's hard work. It is hard work. It's probably one of the hardest things we do. And I'll talk about our actual core exercises and then the fact, I'll just talk about it now, that everything we do in yoga is working that core. So when I was in mountain pose, when I was talking about body alignment and strengthening, we're bringing that navel in towards the spine and we are strengthening our core, and our core wraps around, it's like a little hula hoop or a bracelet around your waist. When you're strengthening this, you're strengthening this, and all this connects into all the other parts and pieces. So it says it's vital to maintaining a sound body and a stable, healthy yoga practice. It's incorporated, they're talking about, into most yoga practices. If you've been a Pilates practicer, they talk about core muscle in there a lot, but I think, I don't know, maybe I teach with a Pilates flair, but we do a lot of focus on the core. Oh, okay. So when we were in that mountain pose and we talked about zipping up and zipping down, navel to spine, you're going to strengthen here. But what you need to remember is that you're not going to start with a fully strong, you're not going to start with the strongest core that you're going to get. Let me put it that way. But even, when we're here or we're in a down dog or we're in a plank, we're working our core. So I'm going to show you, I think I can go, let me talk about down dog before I take us back to the floor. And the flow of the class is pretty much what I'm demonstrating is starting on the floor. We do more things than what I showed you, but we start on the floor, we come to standing. We always do some balance poses. We do some sort of movement, either warriors or sun salutation with down dog. If you don't know what these things are, it's okay. Or if you don't remember, it'll come back to you very quickly. And then we go back to the floor. We do some more inversions. We do some core work. We do some twisting. And then we bring it to a close. So what I'm demonstrating is more or less kind of what we do. So I am going to talk a little bit about down dog. So I was watching these kids on the beach a couple months back, and they were, we'll say they're 20. And it was a guy and two guys and a girl. And the girl was super, super fit. And I watched her they're doing yoga on the beach. And I'm watching her, I'm like, I think she's an instructor because she was just so precise and perfect. And she's trying to help these guys. And one of them is really trying, the other one is just truly floundering. And I think he got bored after a while. But I want to show you, so part of the reason I'm taking the time to do this is I came back and I shared it with the class. And even though I had taught these concepts before, it was helpful for them to hear it again. So I want you to see, while you're not trying to do it, what a correct down dog looks like and how we can adjust our bodies to get into the proper down dog. And I have a way, you was talking about assist. There's a way that I can assist you, but there's a way that you can assist yourself in getting into the right place. So just watch me for a minute. Lots of times we come into a down dog from the ground, but for now I'm going to take my hands out. My palms are spread. My feet are going to go back. Notice the distance between my hands and my feet. Okay, I'm not here. Way back here. And what most people will do is stay kind of right where I am. Chin to chest, butt up, and that's not where you want to be. Some people are out here, somewhere between a plank. Okay, this is a plank, somewhere between a plank and a down dog. This is how to get into your down dog. I will tell you this, okay? So don't feel like you have to remember it. You go up on your toes, you drop your heels, you push those sit bones we talked about up in the air, and you take your face towards the floor. My chin is not going towards my chest. And I was actually taught this the wrong way. I was taught to look at my toes. Do you see where my chin is? Do you see how my spine's no longer in alignment? You're here, so that my face is going towards the mat. So can you see the difference? So to do the self-assist, you go up high on your toes, you take your heels down, you push your sits bones up, you can feel that in your hamstrings, and you take your head towards the ground. And that gets you into a nice, deep down dog and not where you're not supposed to be. So we can talk about plank while we're here. So this is a tough plank. What you want to make sure you do, and I don't even demonstrate it, is to curve your back like a horse or a cow. I'd rather you be up here than curved like this. Now, what a lot of us do is drop our knees to the floor, feet up. And this is a lot easier. This is building core strength. It's building arms. And you're taking the navel to the spine. You should feel strong there. Something that you can't see, and I didn't learn this until, I guess it was in my training, I hadn't heard it, is to find the eyeballs of your elbows. So when I say that, I want you to know what in the world it is I'm talking about. So if I bring my hands under my chest and I push my elbows in towards each other, like I want them to touch, this is the eyeball of my elbow. So when you're in plank, when you're in down dog, when you are in, this is up dog, just so you're aware, that your eyeball of your elbow is showing. So you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. So when we come back to the ground, I was talking about core work, I was talking about inversions, and there's a few things I want you to know. So what I'm giving you here is the tools to learn and practice the poses happily, safely, comfortably, instead of just coming to your mat completely blind or having not been on your mat for 15 months or longer. So you'll learn these different, it's a modification. A modification is when you take something and you modify it or you change it to make it your own. So I'm going to give you a basic core exercise that we do. You need to watch me because if you're doing it, you can't see. So if you're laying on your back, hear me, if you're laying on your back, your head needs to be on the floor. Notice my spine is no longer in alignment. Head's on the floor. You can bring your hands up under your tailbone for more support. And this is one of the basic core exercises that we do. So this would be, level 1, the easiest place to begin. And you can even put one foot on the floor and come like this. So what do they say? There's more ways than one to skin a cat. All right. The next one would be to be on your forearms. And I want you to notice that my shoulders or my elbows are under my shoulders. I'm not out here. You gotta be here. And you want your spine to be long. So if you're doing this and you're here and you start to sink, that's when you know you need more support. So this would be your second level. If we call it 1, 2, and 3. A little bit more would be maybe here. And again, my elbows are not out like a chicken. They're in. The eyeballs of my elbows are looking forward. The next one, which I've grown to love, is here. Now, the hardest, which I was doing for a long time, was here. But I noticed I was feeling stressed, which is not what you want. So when I just place my hands back here and give myself a little more support. But what I want you to notice is my chin is engaged. The 3 parts of my spine are in alignment. So here, here, I guess here, here, or all the way back with your head on the floor. So there are a number of things that we do where I'll say, remember your modification, or for a while, until everybody in the class is comfortable, I will review, and show you the different ways of doing it. And you start at one level and then you drop down if you need to, if you get tired, and then you gradually build up until it's more difficult than it was before. You take a pause when you need to take a pause. You quit when you need to quit. You start back if you're ready. I am going to take a sip of water, which is my opportunity to remind you, please bring water. I have heard just from a few people, don't drink water during yoga. I don't know why, but I don't agree with that. I think hydrating always is important and good. So bring your water with your mat. So I want you to hear me talk about blocks a little bit with our inversions when we lay down on the floor, because I don't want to have to explain it for 15 minutes every time we go to get our blocks. So you can, number 1, choose not to use the blocks. You can choose 1 block or 2 blocks. And then the place I'm trying to take us, just so you'll know, is here. But your blocks, when you lay down, are about right here. So again, the sacrum, the lumbar spine, so they're not high up here where they're bumping into your ribs. They're here. Some people choose to have 1 block. I absolutely love having 2 blocks. And then if you are wider, you can get, or want a little more support, you can use 2 blocks going this way. But this is my favorite. So you're not, again, going to want to lay down while we're doing this, you're going to want to watch me, because when you come to class, you're already going to be laying down and it's going to be hard to see. So what you do is you just, and I'm grabbing my strap, you're going to take the blocks underneath. I've got them going the long way, this way, and place them up under you. Make sure that your sacrum and your lower spine are fully supported. And then here you are. So for an inversion, the feet are going to go up in the air. So the exact opposite of standing and bringing your feet to your toes, this is an inversion while you're laying down. So we do a number of things here. We do kicks and different things. One thing that I want you to hear is that when we go with the legs down, you're working one leg, the other foot is on the floor. Don't have it anywhere else. Let it be fully supporting you. And I'll just show you some options here. One of the things that we do, just so you'll be familiar with it, is you can just pull in and down. And this is just one foot at a time. You can go straight out and down. Now I want you to notice alignment-wise, I'm not going any further than the block is from the floor. So my leg is lined up with my spine. If I go lower, it causes me to come up here, and that does not make my back happy. So you can be here, you can come all the way up, you can come all the way down, you can come up, and then see how the knees are together and do this. So it doesn't matter. Don't be freaking out like, oh, I can't remember all that. Number one, I'll remind you. Number two, it doesn't matter. The thing that does matter is having that opposite foot on the floor supporting you. One thing we do here, and when we first started doing it, I had a hard time getting my strap to the bottom of my foot. So you just kind of have to learn to do that. And then we might do something like this, and the blocks are still there providing support. Now, having said that, you can do those exact same things flat on the floor, right? I'm doing the same thing, but I'm flat on the floor. I can take that strap, and here it is. So you can make the decision about whether or not to use the blocks, whether or not to use the strap. It's all optional. So let me see, I got my computer undid me again. Yeah, it did. So I have backup notes printed out. We're getting close. Couple more things I want you to know. So I have something called Freebird. And you saw me do it a minute ago when I came out of, I think it was doing this, I kind of just went forward and then side to side. So for me, that was what I call a Freebird moment of you just need to kind of take a stretch and do what it is that your body's asking for. And that differs for everybody. Notice I'm getting my blanket because I need that when I'm sitting flat on the floor. So anytime I say Freebird, maybe you come out of your tree and I'll just say Freebird. That means just move the way that your body is calling for. All of our bodies are different. Somebody might need it in the shoulders. Somebody else might need it in the hips. Towards the end, not the very end of class, the last thing we do before Shavasana, which is the one Sanskrit word that I use besides Namaste, is Freebird. And you have a time, it's not very long, a minute, maybe two, where you can take your body anywhere you want. And I usually make some suggestions, like if we haven't done a certain inversion or we haven't done a deep spinal twist, I might take you there. Or not take you there, invite you to go there. I do my own Freebird unless I'm talking to you about something, and you're free to do what it is that I'm doing. But mostly it's just a time to check in with your own mind, body, spirit, I think especially body at that point before you go to relaxation. So, free bird is exactly what it sounds like. It's your time to be free. So, people learn that when you say Shavasana, that's great. We're at the end. It's time to just relax and time to just be. What I will share with you is yes, you learn to let that be maybe your favorite thing. But it is the hardest part of yoga. And I've been teaching for a while now, and if I walked into a class that wasn't even my class and I started looking around during Shavasana, I could tell you exactly who was an experienced person in that class, student in that class, and who was new. Because your people who've been doing are just like, oh, they're out, they're chilled. And then the people that are newer to Shavasana are start to wiggle around and move. Maybe opening one eye to see if it's time to come out yet. And they're uncomfortable. And they're not accustomed to relaxing and letting go. But it gets easier and it becomes more wonderful. And I did find a definition of Shavasana because I was like, what do they call it officially? So Shavasana allows the body to absorb and integrate the benefits of our practice into our muscle memory, our minds, and nervous system. It allows the physical body, our heart rate, our blood pressure, and our nervous system to return to baseline. I added, it allows us to relax and to just be. So once you get used to it, you want it to last forever. Unfortunately, it doesn't. There's some days when we have a longer one. Just so you know, all of my classes are an hour with the exception of Saturdays, which are an hour and 15 minutes. I have people who used to just practice during the week and they would come to a Saturday class and they're like, oh my gosh, that is wonderful. It's just a great way Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. to get your juices flowing and get your weekend started right. And we have more time to talk through things, to maybe learn new things and to have a longer Shavasana, which is wonderful. Quickly. Shavasana is basically you're just spread out like a dead man, like this. Now, if your lower back hurts you, like mine does, you can bend your legs and let your knees fall together. And if that doesn't work for you, you can lay any way you want to. There's no rules in yoga. So we do that. I gradually bring you out. Then we sort of wake up a little and I ask you to roll to one side, your favorite side, whichever side that is. And then eventually you're laying here all relaxed. I may review our quote and I'll say, use your top arm to bring yourself to a comfortable seated place. So your top arm is this one and you push. And then you use the other arm and you come to whatever is a comfortable seated place. I remind you of your gifts of a long spine, dropped shoulders, and a deep breath. We bring our hands to heart center, and I will say something along the lines of Namaste. In appreciation of Namaste, we realize that our hearts and the love in our hearts reaches out to the love that's in the hearts of others. Then I'll ask you to slowly open your eyes. Usually it's very slowly at that point, and we Namaste. Oh, I do use a third Sanskrit word that means peace, and it is called Shanti. And it just means peace, inner peace, joy. And so we end with Namaste, and the full end is, I will say, And we're going to say 3 times together, Shanti. And we do that 3 times, and that's class. So I hope that this has helped you tremendously. I have never really done this before, a benefit of COVID. Hey, people know how to Zoom. We can do a video so that people have time to really learn about yoga and in my classes and what you're walking into before you ever hit the mat. Call me, text me, email me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Do not feel like you should be knowing everything before you walk into Quail Hollow Presbyterian Church, Johnston Hall. If you don't know where to go, I will send you directions. But you're not supposed to know it all. But you've got the concepts. And when I say the 3 parts of your spine need to be in alignment, when I say drop your shoulders, when I say breathe, when I say find a focal point, you'll know what I'm talking about. So you're ahead of the game. It's going to be great. I know many of you are rejoining me, so you got it. I do think that the refresher classes are going to be great, so you can just remember the poses. There's, of course, a lot of things that we didn't talk about, but I've gotcha. There's 5 refresher introductory courses. If you don't work during the day, you can take all 5, but come to as many as you can so that you can get used to being back on your mat. You can ask any questions that you have. You can learn modifications if you need them. Certainly, if you're new, I can get to know you a little bit better. And like I said, we've all got issues, so I can learn more about your mind, body, and spirit. Get your equipment. The only thing that you don't have information for me about right now is knee pads. If you don't have any emails from me, you will, and I will give you all this information, and you know how to find me. So let's bring our hands to heart center. And in the spirit of Namaste, we remember that when we practice yoga together, our hearts grow together. Namaste. I can't wait to see you or meet you, and it will be soon. Check your emails. I will keep you informed of everything that you need to know, and you know how to reach me. Take care. Bye.